Hello everyone and welcome to the Chrissy B Show. Now today is Mental Health Monday and we're talking about the psychological repercussions of living with chronic pain. With us is resident psychologist Dr. Audrey Tang, who we're talking about what life with chronic pain can be like. And we also show you a video courtesy of the Mental Health channel about how one man decided to document how a community helped him with his chronic pain. Dr. Rob Hicks explains how the power of touch can help our mental health and also the mental health of those of us suffering with chronic pains and illness. We also hear from Trishna Barradia on how life with her chronic illness MS has been like. And as we know, eating healthy can make a world of difference with our mood, which has an effect on tackling adverse situations. So we show you how Danielle Shine got on when she went to Sano and learned how to make a healthy and delicious lemongrass Daal. Later on, Joanne Costa Manuel fills us in on her latest work with Autism Parent Empower, and if that's not enough, at the end of the show, I'll be sharing some tips on how to help someone suffering from chronic pain. Now, we all experience pain at different degrees at different times of our lives. So what is chronic pain and how is it different to what we're used to? Whilst normal or acute pain subsides after a short while, chronic pain can last for weeks, months, or even years at a time. Chronic pain affects more than 2/5 of the UK population, and an estimated 28 million adults live with a pain that has lasted for 3 months or longer. According to the British Pain Society, women are more likely to experience chronic pain than men, while prevalence was generally found to increase with age. But what do you have to say about chronic pain? We went to Twitter to find out. Sarah is trying to look on the bright side. She says, looks like it will be mostly movies in bed today, too much chronic pain this morning. Maybe things will be better later. Anna gives it to us straight. She says, chronic pain doesn't care about socioeconomic status. Frances is supportive. She says, and shout out to the A-level kids doing it with disability, chronic illness or mental health problems. You're all warriors, and stormed it. $1 Million Baby is happy, saying, hooray for new site next week. She specializes in chronic illness, so I hope she will help me good. Thank you very much for those tweets. So now it's time to speak to our regular psychologist, Dr. Audrey Tang, all about living with chronic pain. Welcome to the show, Audrey.
Thanks for having me, Chrissy.
So today we're talking about chronic pain and illness in general. So obviously something that's it's a physical thing, but it can really affect a person's mental health.
Yes, yeah. It does have physiological reactions in that research has shown that the cells in the brain that deal with emotions don't fire quite so much when you are suffering with chronic pain. And also the areas in the brain which deal with things like sleep also seem to get smaller when somebody's sort of suffered with chronic pain for a long time. So again, what tends to happen is the mental health effects are byproducts of the physiological, because if you are expecting to feel a stab of pain or something when you're going out, you might stop wanting to go out. If you can't sleep because the pain is keeping you awake, again, that can lead to depression, it can lead to lack of focus, it can lead to not being able to concentrate when you're working. That can then make you more isolated. And unfortunately, the mental health disorders come from what is effectively a condition which just has to be managed. It can't really be cured necessarily, and that's the whole problem with chronic pain. It's just there. It's that thought where when you've stubbed your toe or your hand or something like that, that pain, in our heads we know it's going to go away, but for the sufferer of chronic pain, it's not. That's going to be constantly with them, and all they can really do is learn how to manage it and learn how to ease it. There's also added issues and complications when it comes to taking painkillers as well, because often you will be prescribed painkillers by the pain clinic, and what can happen is you can build up a tolerance to taking them, and then that's when you start thinking, oh well, I'll just take 3 instead of 2, and that's of course completely inappropriate to do, and it's a huge danger, because obviously if you're not taking the prescribed dose, that can have severe physiological effects on you. Similarly, if you then think, oh, it's all right, I'll just mix it with an over-the-counter medicine, that shouldn't be done either. So what you need to do if you're suffering with chronic pain and you have been prescribed any form of painkillers by the doctors is just keep being aware of how your body's reacting to it, because let your GP know if there's any changes, if it's not working quite so well, because they will have to do something about it. Don't try and self-medicate.
Actually, something that our regular doctor that comes on, Dr. Rob Hicks, says is to keep a diary of things as well. That's, you know, before you go to the doctor, if, like we were saying with medication, just to note down sort of the times, things that happen, just so you've got that record, because people forget, don't they?
Absolutely. And also it's so important when it comes to anything, is actually writing it down, because then you have an agenda that you can speak to somebody about, because it's so easy to forget things. You can go in and then you can get sidetracked, talk about something different, or a new experience or a new thing that's come up as part of your condition, and then forget about the very things that you do want to be covering and maybe needing a new prescription for. So yeah, absolutely, I definitely would agree with Dr. Rob on that, writing things down.
Now let's talk about the mental health side of things, because obviously, you know, the person's trying to learn how to deal with the pain, especially if it's something that's maybe developed quite suddenly, and now they're having to live with it. It's a big change, and they're having to make a lot of adjustments, probably at work as well, in personal life. What can they do to help them stay mentally stable, I would say, because obviously it does affect you, but what can they do? A
lot of the time, this is where psychologists come in, is to assist with the treatment plan. So you've got what the GP and the medical side of things is prescribing, but the psychologist is there to talk through the triggers, maybe, to look at ways of relaxation, meditation, those sorts of things that you can be working on, especially when the pain isn't so bad, and then learning to know what maybe triggers it. Certain foods might trigger it, sleeping in a certain way, doing a certain activity, noting down those things, that can make a huge difference as well. It's one of the biggest things that I would say to anybody if they think that they are suffering from something that seems to be recurring. And this can also be things like, we tend to think of chronic pain as something like tinnitus, or something that's just, it's there the whole time, but recurring migraines can be classed as chronic pain. It's not there all the time, but if you get them so often, it's something that you've got to look out for. So if you think you're suffering, you must try and get treatment early, because if you can treat it at a slightly earlier stage, then it means you can deal with it before the pain eats away too much and changes your physiology, so that the management becomes even more severe later on. It's all about being aware, actually, of ourselves, of our bodies, knowing what feels normal, knowing what doesn't. It's probably also things like trying not to self-medicate with drinks or drugs, using anything recreational, partly because if you're using drugs or recreation or drinking, then that has an analgesic effect as well. So you can be dulling pain and then not realizing that there is a problem. It's a funny thing, silly little thing. We're taking painkillers. We're always told, as somebody who uses their voice a lot, so speakers, vocalists, singers, actually don't sing or overuse your voice when you're taking painkillers, because you won't realize it's hurting, and then you'll just continue to push it and push it. So again, you've just got to be really careful and know your body, what it's like without taking the drug, know what it's like when you're on your prescriptions. Notice anything new or different that's happening as well. It's a really difficult one, because it's so much to do with management, and every single case is different as well.
I don't know what you think, because I'm just thinking here, obviously it's easy for me to say because I don't have chronic pain, but do you think maybe it would help to try, I know some people probably really focus on the pain and give the pain a lot of attention, obviously because it's there, and of course you feel it and everything, but maybe if you kind of try and focus on something else, or find something else to put your thoughts, I don't know, it's a difficult one.
They always say distraction can be a good thing, and again, depending on who you are, then music might be a nice distraction. But then I also know people who, when they are feeling upset or sad or in pain, music becomes almost like a grating thing for them. So that may not be suitable for that particular person. So distractions can work. Laughter, and I know that sounds so counterintuitive, but I've mentioned this on a show a long time ago about the psychological and physiological benefits of laughter, where Norman Cousins, who had very, very severe spinal problems, found that if he watched Marx Brothers for 2 hours and he laughed for a solid 10 minutes fully, enjoying himself, he could actually sleep for 2 hours afterwards without being disturbed. So sometimes distraction can work, sometimes laughter can work. Going out if you're feeling okay, because then you can be thinking about lots of different things, you're spending time with people. Those things become quite important because, as I said, it's the byproduct that causes things like depression and anxiety. The fact that maybe you don't want to go out because you think, oh, what if I have an attack and I can't manage it? Or what if the pain strikes me and then I'm in the middle of, I don't know, a concert or something, and I've got nowhere to go and nowhere to sit down. So you may stop accepting invitations. You may stop doing all the things that give you so much pleasure and so much joy, just because you're afraid that the pain will strike. So again, this is where your diary comes in. That's really important. Distraction comes in, but also friends and family can be a little bit sensitive to. It's important that they do understand that when you're saying, oh, I don't want to go out, it's not necessarily because you don't want to see them, but it's difficult to explain sometimes that I'm afraid I might hurt, or I'm afraid that I might spoil your evening, or if I have to go home early, is that going to be possible? Those are the worries that go through.
And maybe it could be
heads.
a case of actually finding alternative things to do, where if pain does strike or anything, that you'll be able to get home quickly or whatever, just to try and having a plan B, having a plan of action. But actually getting out and changing your environment can make a huge difference as well, purely because we have an ability to almost, it's like muscle memory, remember certain situations, certain places that we are, and our bodies can build up a certain resistance to being in that particular position. So it's like when people say, oh, I get a bit bad vibe about this place, or I can sense something. It can be because they may have had a bad experience in there before. And what can happen if you change your environment? Your body can get used to completely almost a blank slate, rather than thinking about, oh, I felt pain in this environment before, therefore you're already building yourself up to feel that pain again. Audrey, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And we'll see you again next week for another interesting topic.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, guys, so adversity is hard to overcome, particularly something like chronic pain, which can be part of your life for years. However, like the strong-willed individuals in this video, there's always a way to keep going, and oftentimes help can come from those you surround yourself with. Let's take a look at the first part of this story of how an individual with sickle cell disease has helped his community.
I want to ask you questions. I want you to repeat the question back to me before you give your answer. So if I say, when was the first time you had a sickle cell crisis? You say, the first time I had a sickle cell crisis was.
I don't want to be that guy to be like, hey, I have sickle cell, right? So, nobody wants to be that guy.
Dude, I feel you. I feel like I'm becoming that dude.
That's in essence our problem, though.
Right,
we keep it to ourselves.
Right.
So that's why we kind of don't have a community.
Well, I'm getting my haircut because I want to be interviewing some sickle cell patients for my documentary. So I'll be on camera. So yes, I'm nervous. I hope will be used as, sort of an educational tool, kind of exposing the day-to-day challenges of living with sickle cell. This is my first time producing a film. Initially, I wanted to be an actor. I went to a high school for performing arts and majored in theater there and studied drama in undergrad. I got cast into a main stage production at a local theater here, a leading role, and right before the show opened, I had a crisis. A crisis is what happens when you have a sickle cell flare-up. It definitely changed my mind about what was feasible for me. Sickle cell anemia is a genetic disorder of the red blood cells, so it's passed on from parents to child. It causes instead of the red blood cells being, shaped round, they're shaped like a crescent or a sickle. And because they don't carry oxygen well, they clump together in veins and arteries and cause pain episodes. It's like having glass in your veins. And every time your heart beats, the glass moves a little bit and cuts. So every day, I'm gonna feel some pain. When I wake up in the morning especially, and when I go to sleep at night especially.
Raquel, take one.
Tell me about coping with having sickle cell. What's that like for you? Like, how do you cope with it?
Well, I just try to push through. I just push through. Because if you wake up and feel pain every single day like we do, you can't just call and, I'm not coming to work today. I won't be there. So I have to suck it up, put on a happy face. Don't let the kids feel anything because babies feel what we feel. And I just push through it.
I'm 29 now. I was told that a life expectancy for a person with my type of sickle cell is 25. At 25, I had heart failure. And so for me, that was kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a sense. Like, doctor said I would die at 25, now my heart's failing. After that, I kind of, for about a year and a half, was just completely consumed by depression. I just was kind of waiting to die, honestly. And so I feel like it would be fruitless to spend any more time or energy trying to accomplish any more goals because, my time had come. It's so easy to be consumed by sadness when you're this sick. You have to make a conscious decision not to be. And I just decide every day to have some joy. Keeping those stress triggers to a minimum. You need to hydrate, take your meds, work out, and eating a healthy diet.
Don't go away because after the break, we'll be showing you the second part of Ladarian's story, and nutritionist Danielle Shine takes us to Sano and teaches us how to make a nutritious lemongrass dal. But first, is this true or false? Weather can affect pain. Think you know the answer? Find out if you're right after this break. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, your program for all things related to mental health and well-being. Now, before the break, I asked you if this was true or false. Weather can affect pain. The answer is true. If your joint pain gets worse when it's cold or raining, it may not be your imagination. Changes in air pressure can cause some people, especially those with arthritis, to have more pain in their joints. Now, before the break, we showed you part one of Ladarian's story, a man living with chronic pain due to sickle cell anemia. Let's see what he's doing to cope with the pain and help others in his community.
I'm helping to develop Above the Crisis, a support group for patients and their families who are living with sickle cell disease. I just want to contribute something meaningful to society. Okay, good. And now, with Above the Crisis, I have a reason to live, really. Go over with me what you have from our last meeting.
So we did education, advocacy, outreach, and wellness, and a revision of the mission and the vision.
So whatever she doesn't have for that event, we need a list of that stuff. When we have our meeting, I try and cook something at home, take it over to the conference room. I like to do this for my board because it gives me the opportunity to show them how much I appreciate what they do for the organization. Thank you. I hope that Above the Crisis, long-term, can service all the sickle cell patients and families in the Gulf Coast region. We want to provide that network of patients, families, and healthcare providers to build the community. As y'all know, we're making a documentary. We're about a little more than 50% of the way done filming with patients. Tomorrow, we're going to film our first healthcare provider, Dr. Janasia. We've got both cameras, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Development, okay. Okay.
So let's go ahead and roll all the cameras, please. All right, Dr. Janasia, interview take 1, marker.
What would you say is the biggest need for the sickle cell community?
I think the primary need is to band together. You as a young person coming forward to deal with this problem, that more young patients themselves come out and speak out.
Corel interview, take 1.
So what psychological effects did sickle cell have on you?
A roller coaster of emotions, depression, anger. One thing I liked about my childhood is I had the Sickle Cell Foundation. So it connected me with a lot of people who had sickle cell. So I was able to communicate and connect with those who were living with the same disease I had. So we shared our struggles, and that's very important.
I probably didn't meet another person with sickle cell until I met you. You know, when I was 7, I probably would have wanted to meet somebody that was 30. So I wouldn't have been thinking about every day, oh, am I gonna die at 24 like the encyclopedia said, you know?
That's one of actually Above the Crisis goals, man, to like really build that network of patients and families with sickle cell again. In Houston, we know like that's a big need. And that's really one of the ways that we're gonna be able to share knowledge, experience, forms of medicine and treatment. It's given me a reason to keep fighting for this. I mean, I know that we'll all die, but I just don't want to suffer and die and it be pointless, you know? I want it to be for something. You know?
The work Darren is doing is awesome. It's very, very, what's the word? Honorable?
Darren is an inspiration, and he's worked really hard, and it's not work for himself, you know?
It's always social, always lifting someone's spirits, very caring.
I really appreciate it. Yeah. You're more than your pain. And if you can, use that pain to channel to something positive, like, do that.
Hey. How come I do that?
Oh, yeah. That's a wrap.
Thank you very much to the Mental Health channel for that video, and if you'd like to know more about them, please do head over to our website chrissybshow.tv and click on our contributors section. Now, are you hungry for something homey but not sure what to eat? Well, we sent nutritionist Danielle Shine to restaurant Sano to go to learn how to make a delicious lemongrass dal. Here's how she got on.
Hi everyone, I'm Chef Danielle Shine and I'm here today with Heather from Sano to Go Restaurants and Sano School of Culinary Medicine. Thanks for having me, Heather.
Thank you, welcome.
I am so excited because we are going to be making something really healthy that is on your menu at Sano to Go Restaurant.
It's a coconut lemongrass dal.
Wow.
So very straightforward, easy to make, but absolutely delicious. We're going to start with the onions and the garlic, and we're just going to lightly saute that. Red onion's got some health benefits. The colour, the red you can see, that's due to flavonoids, and it helps release nitric oxide, and that helps your blood vessel relax.
Oh, okay.
So if your blood vessel relaxes, your blood pressure's going to
So great
reduce.
for anyone with high blood pressure.
Yep.
Get some red onion into your diet. So chopped garlic. I love the garlic as an antibacterial.
Yep.
I mean, that's just amazing.
Yep, we'll put in the chili,
Chili?
green chili.
Now, is this hot?
Depends what you think hot is, but a little spicy. Again, it's got something called capsaicin in it.
Okay.
That has the same effect as those flavonoids in the red onion. This recipe is actually a recipe of Daal Pinnock.
And Daal is the medicinal chef.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, Daal has actually written many cookbooks, and he's one of the founders of Sano.
He's one of the founders of Sano. Now, while that's doing, we're just going to do a bit of fun here, and we're going to bash the lemongrass.
Ooh, okay.
The reason for doing this is that it releases all of the essential oils.
With the lemongrass, you've chopped it up, popped it in there, but we're not going to eat that. We're don't eat that part.
No, it's the essential oils that we want for the flavour.
So best to, if you use this, fish it back out. It's just for the oils encased inside. This is one of my favourite salts. So a lot of people don't realise this. Sea salt has so many vitamins and minerals housed inside it. Table salt has nothing.
So now we're going to add the lentils and the coconut milk.
Okay.
Lentils are amazing for heart health,
Bowel
health.
When you're buying coconut milk, make sure you're looking on the ingredients at the back. You just want to see 100% coconut. You don't want to see any preservatives or added nasty things in there. That's when it's not coconut milk anymore.
Pure coconut.
Yes.
And you can get it everywhere.
You can, yeah.
In all the supermarkets.
Yeah.
So we just leave that
So that's going to soak. It looks like the lentils.
Soak. Exactly. And then we're going to very gradually just add in vegetable stock.
Do people need to watch it the whole time? Can they pour a little bit? Go and do
You can pour a little bit, but you don't want it to obviously burn.
No.
That's what we all do, isn't it?
Right.
We just run off and do
Maybe
something
I've
else.
done that once.
I've done that a few times.
This is looking good.
It is. I think we're done. We're there. The lentils look nicely broken down.
How do we know when the lentils are cooked?
You can see that they're soft. You can always do a little
So I can
taste.
pick one up and...
Yeah, and also try it to see if it's nicely seasoned.
So if it's too chewy, leave it in, let it soak longer. If it's not chewy, ready.
As it's finished, I'm going to take the lemongrass stalks out.
Okay.
So we can just plate it up.
Time to plate up. Oh, this is the exciting part.
And then you can just garnish. We've got here some red chilli, some coriander and some lime, which obviously when you eat it, you could squeeze the lime over, just gives it extra flavour.
Chilli is one of my favourite things. All right, Heather, is it time to taste?
It is, indeed.
Okay.
So,
spoons. All right, cheers. Do we do a little?
Cheers. Cheers.
Okay. Oh my goodness. That is so flavorful. Honestly, that is the most delicious dal I've ever tasted.
And you can see how easy it was. Thanks very much to Danielle and to Heather. Well, after the break, we take a look back at a past guest journey with MS, and resident Dr. Rob Hicks explains the importance of physical touch and the benefits it has to our mental and physical health. But first, what organ in your body never feels pain? Is it A, your heart, B, your liver, or C, your brain? Find out the answer after this break. I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone. Now, before the break, I asked you what organ in your body never feels pain. Is it A, the heart, B, the liver, or C, the brain? The answer is the brain. As it's an area where everything is processed, the brain itself cannot process its own pain, and is why patients are often awake during brain surgery and not in agony. Now, illness of any kind can, as we heard earlier, really affect our mental health. However, we can pull through. Here is how one past guest, Trishna Baradia, lives her life with MS.
I was diagnosed in 2008, so I've been diagnosed for 9 years now.
Okay.
But I've probably had MS for probably around 10 to 11 years, right. Because as is very common for people who are diagnosed with MS, my first symptoms were put down to something completely different.
Really?
My first symptoms, I completely lost the strength in both my hands. And this was around 2004. And it was put down to repetitive strain injury because I was otherwise very healthy.
Yeah.
And a lot of MS symptoms can be put down to a wide variety of other conditions. So I didn't think anything of it. But then in 2007, I completely lost the feeling down one side of my body.
How did you feel when that happened? That must have been so scary.
It was very scary.
Yeah.
because literally from my toes all the way up to my shoulder blade, I went completely numb. I couldn't feel anything. One of the tests that they do is they sort of scratch you with a pin, and I couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel anything. And that was when I was then put onto what I call my path to diagnosis. So I was sent for MRI scans. I had a lumbar puncture. And eventually in May 2008, I was given the diagnosis of relapsing remitting MS.
When you got that diagnosis, how did that make you feel? Was it like, now I know what it is and it's kind of a relief, or oh my God, I've got MS?
It was a mixture. It was a relief because I thought, well, at least I know what it is, and now I can start being practical and start thinking, well, what am I going to be able to do about it? How can I move on with my life? But it's also scary because you know that your life is going to change, but you don't know how it's going to change. I always say that two of the most difficult things to come to terms with when you're living with MS is, one, that there is no model. So every single person with MS is different.
Wow.
Everyone experiences a different range of symptoms because of the nature of the condition, because it's where the damage is occurring in the brain and spinal cord. So no two people are ever going to have exactly the same damage occurring in exactly the same places. And it's also the uncertainty, because literally from one day to the next, you don't know how you're going to be feeling. You don't know when your next relapse is going to be, how severe it might be, what part of your body it might affect, how long it will last. And currently, there is no way to provide a prognosis either. So you're living under a constant sort of shadow of uncertainty, which is it's very difficult to come to terms with. At the same time, eventually you do, and you know that you, I mean, I knew that I had to carry on living my life, which is one of the reasons why I became so involved with helping to increase support and awareness.
That's
so
something that
people
you
can
felt
understand.
like you didn't really have at the time, because you know, you were facing so much uncertainty, and that's when obviously charities and organisations like MS Trust come in and do help. Now, Trishna, how is it on a daily basis? Because you talked about the uncertainty, but what do you do for things like work and just running, just day-to-day things? How do you plan, or do you plan?
You do have to plan. Fatigue is one of my symptoms, so on a daily basis I plan everything that I do. I work from home, which is something which my employer was very good and made these reasonable adjustments for me. I have a huge amount of support from my family, and that's extremely important. It's life with MS can be made so much easier if you have support around you, and so my family is my main source of support on a daily basis. And also support from your healthcare team. I have a very good relationship with my healthcare team, so my neurologist, my MS nurse, my GP, and anybody else who is involved in my healthcare and trying to enable me to live as positive a life as possible with this condition. So yeah, on a daily basis, it's about managing, it's about adjusting to new normals. That's what I like to call it. Because I'm a very positive person. I like to think about how you can do something rather than why you can't. So yes, there are things which I've had to either make adjustments or change the way that I do things, but I still want to be able to carry on doing the things that I love.
Now, Trishna, you said you're doing quite a lot to raise awareness. Can you tell us about some of those things?
Gosh, I do lots of things. How long have you got? So I blog, I campaign, I write articles for MS and disability magazines. I speak at awareness events and health conferences. I help to educate pharmaceutical companies about living with MS. What else? I do lots of...
It's like it's not enough.
For me, it's very much, it's about providing a 360-degree view of how to improve awareness and support. So it's not just about, for example, for me, it's not about going and just doing one thing. You know, something else that I do is I contribute quite a bit into radio programs. So we have MS Awareness Week coming up. So I will go on the radio and I will talk about MS.
But why have you gone that step further? Not just, okay, now I've been diagnosed, now I'm going to try and manage as best I can. Why have you gone that extra mile and done all of this?
I think because when I was diagnosed, I wasn't signposted to the right information. I wasn't told where to go to for support. There is a huge amount of support out there, but if people don't know about it, then then they're missing out. And so for me, it's about raising awareness about that support so that people with MS know where to go. But I also believe that unless people are aware of the condition, they're not going to be able to understand. So the wider community, what I call the non-MS community, they're only going to be able to provide the correct support if they understand the condition.
Yeah, it's true.
And so that for me it's the most important thing. And it's not just, you know, for example, for MS, that goes across the whole board of, you know, chronic conditions. If people understand it, then they are going to be able to provide that support, and support is so vital.
Definitely. Now, Trishna, what I find interesting about you is that, you know, some people get diagnosed, not just with MS, but other conditions as well, and it's like their life stops, but you're managing to work, okay, with the help of your employer, obviously you're working from home, you're managing to work and find the time and the energy to do all these other things. That to me is proof that you can keep living, you can keep having a good life, right? And doing, obviously you have your challenges. But, you know, for someone that, you know, I can ask both of you this question, for someone that's just been diagnosed and is feeling really down in the dumps and they're thinking, why me? What's the point of going on? I might as well just give up.
I'd say don't be afraid to ask for help, because asking for help and getting that help can be so liberating, because it means that you will be able to move forward. And it is about finding ways to overcome these challenges, because at the end of the day, currently there is no cure for MS. So if you're diagnosed, yes, there are medications that can help slow down the progression, depending on the type of MS that you have. But currently, if you're diagnosed, you have it for the foreseeable future. So in a way, you have to find a way around things. Because otherwise, you know, it's very difficult to live a positive and continue to try and be happy in your life. I know lots of people who have been through depression with MS. I have known people, so one person I know with MS actually committed suicide, which it goes to show how deep it can affect you emotionally. However, as Lyndon said, you don't have to face it alone.
Definitely not.
So if you've got the support there, then that will help.
Thank you very much to Trishna. So now it's time to take a look back at this doctor's orders, talking about how physical touch can help with mental and physical pain.
Hello and welcome to Doctor's Orders here at the Chrissy B Show. I'm Dr. Rob Hicks. Today I'd like to talk with you about the importance of physical contact, the importance of touch. Because physical contact plays a number of very beneficial roles. From the moment a baby is born, they have physical contact with their mum, skin-to-skin contact, and that helps the development of the bonding process between a mother and child. Holding a child's hand, for example, crossing the road or on their first day at school, is a great way of showing trust and security. It makes a child feel safe. And holding our hands in that way brings a lot of confidence and safety and security. And different forms of contact, physical contact, actually can convey messages to another person without us actually using words. So for example, when we fist bump somebody or we shake their hands, we're showing friendship. When we high five them or we pat them on the back, we're saying, well done, you did a good job. We put our arms around somebody's shoulders to comfort them and to tell them, actually, everything's going to be okay. And when we hug somebody, we're offering comfort and affection. Now, during this process of physical contact, there are a number of different chemical reactions going on in the body. There's the release of oxytocin, that's the love hormone that makes us feel warm inside and loved. There's also a reduction in the number of stress hormones. And research has found that physical contact has physical benefits on the body, emotional benefits in the mind, and also social benefits. So from a physical point of view, physical contact actually helps reduce our heart rate and indeed our blood pressure. From an emotional point of view, it reduces stress and it calms our mind and body. Physical contact and touch actually promotes good sleep, and also it helps our brain function more efficiently and more effectively. So our cognitive ability doing puzzles and tests and presentations, for example, improves. In fact, there's some research that says that sports teams, when they have physical contact with each other, probably by fist bumping or high-fiving, actually they're more likely to win their games. So there's another good reason for cheering on your teammates. And from a social point of view, touch improves and increases our confidence and our self-esteem, and it can actually help build and maintain relationships. So as you can see, there are lots of benefits from a simple act of just giving somebody a gentle tap or a gentle touch. So make sure that you get your daily dose of physical contact. And that's Doctor's Orders.
Well, don't go away, because after the break, we talk to Joanne de Costa Manuel and see what Autism Parent Empower are doing to promote autism awareness. But first, who of these groups of people are more sensitive to pain? Is it A, redheads, B, brunettes, or C, blondes? Think you know the answer? Find out after this break. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, where today we've been talking all about chronic pain and illness. Now, before the break, we asked you who of these groups of people are more sensitive to pain. Is it A, redheads, B, brunettes, or C, blondes? The answer? Redheads. Research has confirmed that redheads often need extra anesthesia to numb pain, stating there may be something unique about that gene variation that makes redheads metabolize pain-killing drugs differently. Very interesting there. So now it's time for something else. I caught up with Joanne de Costa Manuel telling me about Autism Parent Empower's amazing partnerships with some huge organisations, including Tesco's, Merlin and Virgin. Plus there's some good news for our viewers too. But first, let's take a look at Joanne in action.
We all need a holiday, and if you have a child with autism, then you more than anyone deserve a break. But the thought of actually getting on that flight, walking on that plane, the sound, the passengers, even the seatbelts, it can seem so daunting that you might actually never book that holiday. Well, I'm here today at Virgin Atlantic, the base at Gatwick, and I'm so excited to share with you a little hidden gem which I'm hoping will make all the difference. Virgin offer a variety of aircraft experiences that can be adapted to each individual needs. So if you are initially too concerned to come inside a full mock-up, then you can be introduced to an aircraft seat which is placed in an open hall. They also have two rigs that look like an aircraft from the outside and are fitted to resemble economy, premium economy and upper class cabins. These rigs really give passengers the feeling that they're on board. They even have a check-in which helps you prepare for that pre-boarding experience. And finally, if you are a passenger that's sensitive to sound, then you can book into the Boeing 747 cabin, which actually replicates the aircraft noise. I'm going to take a seat now with Geraldine Lundy, Accessibility Manager here at Virgin. Hello, Geraldine.
Oh, hello, Joanne.
So tell me, Geraldine, why did you start this up?
We had so many families who had autistic children who contacted us as they were afraid to fly, and so we thought we'd got these rigs here which could offer what would be like to be in an aircraft.
And I'm guessing you've had lots of families now that have used this service. What type of feedback have you had when they've come back from their holiday?
Really, really positive. We've got some families who would never have flown, and they have flown and come back and said how marvellous it was to have a family holiday.
You know how excited I am to be here. I think it's a real hidden gem. If families want to get in touch and want to book this, what do they need to do?
All they need to do is contact our Special Assistance Department and they'll do everything for them.
Thank you so much again, Geraldine, for all the hard work that you do to really assist families with autism. It really makes a difference.
Well, thank you. Thanks for coming.
So all that's left to do is give a big thumbs up to Virgin Atlantic Airways for being so autism aware. It really does make a difference to children and adults travelling with autism. And thank you to you, Sir Richard Branson, for being so generous, because this service isn't exclusive to Virgin flyers. Regardless of what airline you're travelling on, Virgin open up their doors and offer this service to you. So I hope you all get a chance to book that break you most certainly deserve.
Welcome to the show, Joanne.
Thank you for having me.
So for the benefit of our new viewers, can you tell us a bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I am director and founder of Autism Parent Empower, and we provide training for parents that have children with autism. Yeah. Yes, we run programs, and we also create lots of sort of awareness videos to help sort of educate the mainstream and support parents and adults and children. So yeah, we do quite a bit actually.
Yeah. You've actually teamed up with some big organisations, as we saw from the video there. Can you tell us about some of those?
Yeah, so that's an example, Chrissy, of one of our awareness videos. And do you know what's been really powerful about attaching myself to brands like that is that we've been able to educate the mainstream. So not only are we, for example, supporting parents that are saying, wow, I didn't know that there's support out there to help me go on holiday or fly, but we've actually had mainstream public saying, do you know what, I didn't realise that actually someone with autism would have a problem with flying, or that sounds would be an issue. So it's been quite powerful in a two-pronged way, because we've supported the families and the children and the adults, but then we've also started to create this awareness within, you know, the everyday public.
Yeah.
So
but it is important, because I didn't know all this stuff myself, and when I saw the video I thought, wow, sort of things that we take for granted, and it's so easy to just, for example, get on a plane or go shopping.
Yeah.
Is fine for us, but you know, actually to know from a person's point of view that has autism and what they go through when all this noise and everything,
absolutely,
it's something really eye-opening.
And I think we were quite keen to talk about everyday things like going out to the shops, hence doing the work with Tesco's, or going on a flight, and it's been really good in educating the public because it's something they're interested in. Yeah. Whereas if it's, you know, very specific to just autism, you know, they might not sit and watch it, but when it's attached to Virgin, they go, oh, what's this? So it's been brilliant.
So what else have you been up to? Because you do more, don't you, than that?
Yeah, so with our programs, we were running 12-week programs, but we could only sort of look after 20 families at a time, and we got inundated, and I mean thousands, Chrissy, from everywhere saying, can you help us? And it really tore at my heartstrings, and I thought, how can I do this? And I think I mentioned on the program before, we were just about to launch all our online programs, and that has been phenomenal. So we're now reaching people in Kenya, in Finland, and we had someone from Sweden, and we're now able to actually access those people and give them the support they need. And it's not just me, we've got a team behind us looking at nutrition and behaviour and personal empowerment, and the things that come back and the reviews have been amazing. So I'm so excited. That's a big part of our sort of our next step.
How does it feel to be helping people over the world?
It feels amazing, and it really gives back to me and everything we've been through, and my son, and the whole story. So I feel like some of it's a bit of a healing process for me too, and it always feels good to give, and it always feels good to do a good thing. So it's been brilliant. So yeah, lots more things lined up as well.
We did tell our viewers, Joanne, about we had some good news to tell them. Would you like to tell them all about what's happening?
Yes. Okay. So we have some great news.
Yes,
so I am now officially joining the lovely Chrissy B and her team, and together, Chrissy, we're going to be, you know, going out there and making more videos together, and reaching many more of, you know, the people that we love and support, and we've got some really exciting things lined up. So
we can't tell you what it is at the moment, but watch this space.
Yes.
And I'm so looking forward to working with you.
Oh, it's going to be brilliant. I can't wait.
All right, so guys, stay tuned, because you will be seeing Joanna quite a bit on this programme, and looking forward to showing you all the exciting things that we're going to be getting up to.
Can't wait.
Okay, see ya. So thank you very much to the lovely Joanne there, and we're really looking forward to working with her in the future. So now it's time for some tips, and these actually come courtesy of health.com, and they ask 4 people with rheumatoid arthritis about the nicest thing that friends and family have done for them. Now, of course, we all want to help friends and loved ones if they are in pain, but we don't always actually know what will help them the most. So it's really good to have this kind of feedback. So one of the first things they say is make shots less painful. So when Elizabeth Gallo, who's 41 and she's a yoga teacher and a mother of 2, now she was preparing to take some medication, and her future husband actually went along with her to the injection training. So he didn't actually end up giving her the shots, the actual injections, but Gallo actually said this quote, "For some reason, it really took the pressure off," she says. "It wasn't as scary." So even though he didn't actually help her with the injections, but just his presence at her appointment and then her actually doing the injections herself was really supportive for her. So something else that was said about supporting someone with, well, in particular, these tips are for people with rheumatoid arthritis, but these tips can actually help anyone with chronic pain. So this is actually the same person that's saying this, and as part of dealing with rheumatoid arthritis, this person says that avoiding any type of food that makes their inflammation worse, such as dairy or tomatoes, really helps. So her husband actually, she said this about her husband, he not only was willing to eat with me, but he also learned about those things too. So he wouldn't bring home frozen yogurt, she says. So obviously that kind of thing would actually make the inflammation worse. So he was supportive in, you know, the things that he would bring home as well. So if you are living with someone that has any kind of condition that, you know, what they eat makes it worse, then not buying those things or not having them around will be really helpful. So something else that someone with chronic pain would appreciate is actually to slow down. And this particular quote is from Alison Whitehead, and she's 48 and a marketing specialist and mother in Sydney, Australia. And she says one of the nicest things someone did for her was walking at her pace. So she took some group walks when her knees were really sore and, you know, she wanted to keep a faster pace, and people would actually give her a shoulder to lean on when she couldn't actually walk on her own. And she says she also appreciates people not laughing when I'm taking stairs on my bottom, and not to mention waiting patiently when buttons and hooks are just too fiddly. So for things, for example, that we take for granted and we can sort of maybe walk fast, for people with chronic pain, even just the walking or doing up buttons is really difficult. And actually I tend to walk extremely quickly wherever I'm going. That's just how I am. I'm always in a hurry. I want to get things done quickly. And I remember actually I have a relative that does have chronic pain in her knee, and I have to really remind myself to slow down and walk at her pace and not be in a hurry, because what happens when we're trying to hurry along and we're not sensitive to the other person, they can end up trying to keep up and then be in a lot more pain, and then they get upset. So there's so many elements to it. So it's just being more mindful of, you know, how that person feels and trying to accommodate. So the final point that I'd like to cover is don't ask, just do it. So there are lots more points actually, but I don't have time to cover them, but you can check out the website health.com for these tips. So they're basically saying that don't actually ask someone if they need help, because they're likely to say no. Just turn up at their house if you don't live with them. Take your mop, your bucket, just be ready to do something for them and not kind of ask, you know, is there anything I can do? And a few things that you can also help with, things like we take for granted, it's so easy to do, like making the bed. For people that, you know, to change sheets if they have chronic pain, it's so difficult. You know, actually I find it quite difficult to change a duvet cover sometimes. It's not an easy task. So imagine someone that has pain. So that's something you can do. You can make them a meal, you can help with the children, maybe dropping them to school, that kind of stuff. Even giving a person a lift, because as you know, walking is difficult. So if you can offer that, that would be absolutely amazing. Well, everyone, we have run out of time on today's program, but if you have a story that you would like to share, don't forget this is your program too, and we always look for inspiring guests. So you can email us on info@chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show, or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. And if you'd like to know more about me, you can visit my website, which is mylifeafterdepression.com. Until next time, bye-bye for now.